We're here at LiucciCast. It's a two-man show today. Sean Porter. Oh, it's with Sean Porter. It's right there.
I don't think people mind when it's a two-man show. We're pretty good up here.
We have plenty to talk about, too. We've got, you know what? We're going to zip right past Aggies in New Mexico State. I'm going to give you one little open, and we'll dive into A&M Auburn. We'll talk just this two-game finish. We'll break down A&M's chances, in your opinion and mine, to get into the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'll talk a little college ball this week.
We got to talk about the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about a certain team in this conference that continues to find ways to lose ever since they showed up here.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to you, LSU. Talking to you, Brian Kelly. And then, you know, we can talk about whatever.
We've been talking about that all year. I mean, we know that's a bad fit. I
Yep.
don't think that's gonna work out a long time. Probably after this season, it won't be working out anymore.
No. And I want to start out by congratulating Richmond Webb. Webby, now a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. Let me read it exactly.
Which Hall of Fame is it?
NFL. Legendary Miami Dolphins OT Richmond Webb has been named a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025. Richmond Webb deserves, Sean, to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. And there are Aggies playing right now. Two of your former teammates and good friends. Mm-hmm. One of my former roommates and good friend, who he's not playing anymore, Shane Leckler, Von Miller, Mike Evans, should all be fit for Gold Jackets eventually. Shane is the best punter in NFL history. Von and Mike are, in my opinion, probably already in. Yeah, they're not done playing football, in particular Mike, who's a few years younger. And then you mentioned Miles, who
he's going to
be there. Just stays healthy. He's going to be there. He's just younger, you know. And there's another one. I just don't know how you grade these guys in Jake Matthews on down the road. Who knows? I think he's trending to maybe be a Ring of Honor guy with the Falcons.
Great
maybe
player.
He misses that cut.
Yeah.
The retired Aggies that the short list is Richmond Webb and Jacob Green, where I'm like, why are they not in there? Maybe Lester Hayes. Why are they not in there? And but Richmond Webb protected one of the all-time greats, Dan Marino's blind side, for most of his career, and was, every accolade you can have tells you that this dude should be in the Hall of Fame. And then if you know him, he's the nicest human being you'll ever meet. He entertained my mom all weekend at the game in the suite, my mom telling every story under the book, and he's just the best. And so, anyway, I was happy for him, and now we just got to see it get across the finish line. So, I love seeing Aggies get in, even be considered and nominated. Yeah.
And that's an honor in itself to even be considered for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's huge, man. Especially when you've been playing since you were 8 years old or something. You dedicated your whole life, your whole career to it. It's a culmination of all of this stuff, and it's great. So even to be considered is already an honor. He's already one of the best players that ever did it. So that's my take on it.
I'm going to start off asking you this. You look at this A&M football team today. I don't care what class they are. You could totally be projecting. Who do you think ends up having the best NFL career on this 85-man roster?
I would probably say 25 or one of the D linemen, and I would pick 4.
Okay. Yeah, I love. The scouts tell me about Shamar, is one of them said today, and it's the same thing. The same guy said the same thing about Vaughn, and they're completely different players. But what he said was, if Von Miller leaves now, he'll go in the second half of the first round. He said if Vaughn comes back, he could be the number 1 overall pick and the next Derek Thomas.
Yeah.
And that was really what happened. He's number 2 overall pick. He sold Derek Thomas all the way down to wearing number 58 for most,
I mean, he'd have been that a year if he'd gone to pro a year earlier.
He would have
too.
been that, but the guy thought that's what he could do with his draft stock is
Right.
like shoot it up, because he was like second half of the first, and he said he could go 20 to 30, or he could go number 1.
Here's my question: with the NIL, if I'm a player like that, do I even care as much to go all the way at the top of the first? Like, do I care enough to say, I'm going to come back to school for another year, risk getting hurt, risk, whatever could happen that just washes me out of that top range of going pro, and, take that chance? Am I going to do, is it worth it these days with the NIL? Like, do they think about it like that? Does he care? I'm saying he would leave earlier and not care that he's going later on in the draft because it's like, I'm already going to get paid either way. Right?
Well,
even if I come back to school, I'm
yeah,
gonna
but
get
why
paid.
wouldn't that push them to come back? Because in the past, like Sean Porter, if the NFL told you, "Hey, Sean, you're gonna be if you come out today, you'll be a 3rd round pick," and I think Shamar Stewart will get told he's going higher.
Yeah, he's gonna.
I think Shamar's going to get told
he's gonna get second round.
late first, early second.
Early second.
Yeah, whatever that grade is.
And he'll probably go higher than that because he's a freak. This guy, you know who he reminds me of? A player that I played with and a great player, like somebody who I saw and I was like, whoa, I haven't seen a lot of those. Dante Fowler.
From Florida.
Yeah. And he was the number 3 overall pick.
Yeah.
And he played for the Jaguars. He plays for the Redskins right now. He played for the Cowboys for a little while. Nasty guy.
Yeah.
Not like a mean guy.
Did y'all
y'all
played against him that year, right? Here at A&M?
Probably.
Pretty sure.
Probably, but he's really good. He was really good, and that's what Ford reminds me of is him. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, some guys want to just get their career started quicker, and some guys care about that coming back and stuff. But a lot of players are just, they're different mindsets now. I think I'm saying because he's already been paid a little bit, to play college ball. Now he's able to just say, I don't, whether I go number 18 or number 5 doesn't make a big difference. Even if I go number 18, I'll probably be on a better team. I have a better career anyway.
I do think, I definitely get both sides of that one. I do think one of those two, if one of those two guys, and I think Nick is same deal. I think the projections.
He's not a senior?
No.
I just don't know how old these guys are.
He's 19 years old.
Who is Scorton?
Yeah.
Oh man, he's got to stay. He's got plenty of time.
But
so 4 is older than him.
Could go and be a first rounder. Like I think he's also a second. I know people are seeing top 10.
No.
And I think his play is like, wow, he'll wow you a lot, but he's not gonna like. To me, Shamar will test all the. Like I had a scout tell me he's looks like Clowney. He's a better athlete.
I love.
Now he hasn't played like Clowney yet, but in the NFL they're projected. Yeah, he's a difference maker.
I love Scorton, but one thing I'll say that the scouts are seeing in him that might drop him down just a little bit. He's a great player.
Yeah.
Great motor, gets in the backfield, makes a lot of plays. He's a little sloppy, little technique. Same thing I was talking about at the very beginning of the season. People can see that.
Yeah.
And in the NFL, we know in college you can get away with many, many things that you could never dream about getting away with in the NFL, right? When it comes to your technique and things that you can do, you can jump out of a gap and jump back in and make a play. That play will not be there ever in the NFL, right? Yeah. So if people see you making a lot of these kind of one-off crazy plays that don't really make sense in their brains a lot of times, hard for people to call that hard evidence that you're really good, right? So I think that he has room to improve. Now, if somebody's going to take you first round in the NFL draft, I say go to the NFL.
Yeah.
But he's 19. He has so much room to improve.
So you might think
we've got good
he has
line
more
coaches.
room to improve and help his stock than even Shamar.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't know how old all these guys. How old is Shamar? So Shamar's a junior?
He's a true junior. He might be 20.
Yeah, so I mean, I see Shamar has a lot of potential, but if you're telling me Scorton's 19 years old, he has way more potential than Shamar because his body's not done yet either. Scorton's like he's just there.
And Shamar had the first round look as a recruit. Nick did not because he was, that's why he went to Purdue. He's grown into it. He told me, like, I played for my team. They needed me as a off the ball stand up linebacker, so no one could even see what I could do as a DN when I was a recruit. They couldn't evaluate me off of that. So yeah, he's definitely still developing. I think he's also
improved, man. And he's really good already. He's some first round talent. I mean,
so if they brought one of them back, I mean, let's just say one leaves, whoever holds out longer could probably command a pretty penny of NIL, like,
Right.
let's just say like highest paid guy on the team type NIL.
Yeah.
All right, my answer to my own question, I actually am going to go on the other side of the ball, and I'm going to say, oh, damn, it's hard for me to leave off like a Le'Veon Moss. I think he was trending
To be a person on
to
offense
be a stud. Now,
need.
we undervalue backs in the NFL now,
Mhm.
but I think he could be like a long-time NFL back. But the guy I would go with actually on the whole team, maybe. I could be wrong here. I know I could be wrong, but I might go with 71, Chase Besantis. Just a sophomore, played right tackle as a true freshman in the SEC last year. He got baptized. It
Mhm.
was not his actual position. They moved him to guard. He has been just an absolute monster this year, and they've missed him.
On the offense, it's gonna be a lineman. I'm just telling you that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lineman.
Yeah, and they missed him, and now he's back.
Mhm.
So Zane just sent me the availability report, Sean. Posted by Mike Elko or turned in by Mike Elko. Obviously, Cyrus Allen's out. Chappelle's out. Love to see Chappelle back next year too. By the way, he could help a lot. Le'Veon Moss out. Naboo out. We've known that. Here's the interesting ones. Chase Besantis upgraded from out to doubtful. And for the first time, we see on doubtful Reuben Owens.
Oh, wow.
Reuben Owens at doubtful. So for Reuben Owens to be at doubtful, you can make the very safe assumption that he has begun practicing this week to whatever capacity. I don't think you'll see him this weekend against Auburn. I'd be surprised if we saw Chase, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Besantis back in the starting lineup against the Longhorns, and it wouldn't shock me to see some small contribution from the star running back that was injured during camp because it is such a need. Now, I think with Reuben Owens, don't count on
with him.
yeah, don't count on much. I'm going to say that now. Don't count on much, but remember what we said earlier. What if they beat Auburn in Texas? Now what? Now you've got an SEC title game. You might have a playoff game. If they went to the first round playoff game, that is a few days till Auburn, another week to Texas, another week to the SEC title game, another week to the first round playoff. It's almost 4 full weeks until they. So by then, yeah, I think you could be back to having a 2-back deal with an explosive Reuben Owens and Amari Daniels. So the fact that he's even moved up to doubtful, I think, is noteworthy.
What did he do in training camp?
It was a foot.
What was it?
I think it was. I don't know if it was the exact same
type of thing.
I think it was the same thing that Jabari Barber had, and he came back earlier too. He got hurt in the spring, and he started practicing in August in camp.
Foot sprain.
I think it was a foot. I don't. I'm pretty sure he had
break something.
Yeah, it was broke. Like
he might be all right. I mean, it's a pain tolerance thing.
If they're going to let him be out there running around, I think that means he's able to.
Yeah, he's rehabbed well.
Yeah, so would be pretty significant, but I think more so, guys, for those of you picturing him, ripping apart this Texas defense like Le'Veon Moss might have.
Pump the brakes.
Give it time. Like keep winning, and then maybe you have this like late season trade deadline edition like they do in the pros.
We got to remember he's a running back too. We can't expect. I mean, these are very athletic, twitchy movements that he has to make, explosive movements.
Like getting to
the feel of the game, the flow of the game. There's a lot of progress that he needs to make to be up to speed with everybody at the end of the season. So I wish him luck. I hope that he does well and keeps coming back, and that he'll be good to go for one of those playoff games with me.
And then if you're looking at Auburn. I'm trying to see if there's anybody. They do not have Peyton Thorne on the injured list. He was a guy that's been banged up with a shoulder. So, look, I'm not saying hurt a quarterback, but you're a defensive guy. You want to play physical football. You want to sack the quarterback. You want to put hits on him.
You said his shoulder's hurt? I mean, I try to hurt him. Not try to hurt him, but like
you try to make
I'm
him.
gonna hit him and
be
fall on his
afraid.
shoulder on purpose. I
You
mean,
make him
call
be,
that what you
make
want.
him be afraid to get hit. Make him, punish him.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I have no, even if on defense, when you're thinking about it, the more times you can hit the quarterback, the better, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at plays all the time when the quarterback will throw an interception, and then he just kind of like lingers back there around. In the pros, guys will like almost hurt the quarterback. Well, it used to be back in the day, I guess.
You better watch out, though, because if South Carolina had not done that, they're in the playoff hunt right now. That one play, he hit Nussmeier behind the play. And it wasn't
dumb about it. It has to be a real play.
They could not have called it.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was just like he wanted to, and he pulled up and he almost he hit him and did this, and the kid did an acting job. Flag, 100-yard pick six to put him up 13. Instead, they're up, and they punt. So, anywho, point being, though, he is banged up. If you do get to him, you could get into that QB depth a little bit. So
and just land on top of him. It's not like you're maliciously trying to twist his knee or something like that.
You're just trying to – a guy –
I want to hit him and land on top of him.
We see that all the time.
All the time.
So – but it's good to see the Aggies getting healthier. Getting healthier at a couple spots where they really need it. Sean, we got 2 games left here. This one at Auburn. You've been there. I remember Coach Sumlin telling me after that game, man, he said they're terrible. But even with them being so bad and knowing that Chizik was kind of on the way out, he said that pregame and the buildup and how loud it was at the beginning of the game, he was like, it was matching like Bama. But y'all shut him up. It was 28-0, I think, after 4 drives. But do you remember anything about the beginning of that game and the War Eagle? And
I remember a little hawk flying out or something, little eagle flying out.
It's an eagle. It's not a war hawk. There are the war hawks. That's ULM.
That's about it, though. I mean, their pregame and their environment, to me, wasn't close to Alabama's.
Yeah.
I'm sure that whenever they have a great team and they get going and all the traditions and the toilet paper on the trees and all that stuff gets going, it's exciting out there. But yeah, I didn't have that same sentiment as Sumlin.
I hate it at night. I hate on the road against a team that's 1-5 in the conference.
Oh, I hate that too.
That 4 of their 5 losses were really close.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like South Carolina. I hated that they should have beat LSU and they could have beat Bama and get that big signature win, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot. And you're like, eventually they're gonna.
South Carolina could be leading the SEC right now.
They could. They could.
The ball drops a couple different ways.
So, as you look at that, what's your concern level for A&M going into this game? Because I look at it and I go, they got a great running back. They got big-time receivers. I think they've got pretty elite receivers. Lambert Smith, transfer from Penn State. He leads the SEC in touchdown catches. They've got, the second leading rusher in the SEC who not only is he the second leading rusher, he's averaging 10 games in the season, 7.0 yards a carry. These things stand out, but yet I watch them score 7 against Vandy.
Yeah.
I watch them lose to Missouri when Brady Cook missed 50 minutes of that football game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm concerned. It's a trap game, just like, the South Carolina game was. Talented players. In a situation like that, you never really know when they're going to wake up. You never know when it's going to be that 1 week whenever they decide to play great and all play together and their coaches are coaching good and everybody's feeling great on this day.
Jimbo and A&M against LSU a couple of years ago.
Right. You don't want that game to be you when it comes down to it, whenever you're walking into a team that's 1-5 and, you don't want that game to be you, that everything clicks and they play well together, right? Now, even if it does for a team like ours, we should be good enough to weather the storm. We should be good enough all day long to compete against these guys and do what we have to do against these guys. It's just about, are we going to do it? Are we going to have the discipline that day? Are we going to have the want to that day? And is our scheme going to match up with our players?
Yeah. And I don't want to set it up too much, but if you do.
If was a fifth.
I think that's the biggest game in maybe
in a while.
Yeah, I always make fun of superlative guy, but it's hard to find a bigger football game Texas A&M will have ever played.
Oh, ever?
There's got to be one, but it will be like if you think about.
Played in the championship game one time back in 1939.
Yeah, I mean, ever that we remember, that anyone alive saw. They played for a Big 12 and won a Big 12 title.
Yeah.
It's up there. But, I mean.
I like that game is going to matter. And I think it's going to matter every year from here on out. At the end of the year, whenever it comes down to Texas A&M versus Texas, I think that game's going to have something to it. It's going to matter. It's going to have playoff complications to it. So, I like that part of it.
I do. And if that's what, because of what that sets up, right? Like A&M, Texas, where the loser, it's probably going to be loser, doesn't go to the championship game. A&M loses, they're out of the playoffs. Texas loses, they might be out. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't think they will, but they might be. They should be. A&M loses, they're out at 9-3. Aggies win, they're in. Longhorns win, they're in. For those to be the stakes, and it's the first time these teams have played since Sean Porter was Junior. 20 years old, 21 years old. Man, the stakes could not. This game could not be bigger. You're going to see game day here. You're going to see if they'll
game day.
No, I'm saying probably. If you win, it will be 100%. Like game day, you might see SEC Nation.
No, it's going to be nuts.
You might see. If Casey Smith can pull any strings and get Barstool down here, they're too good to be down here. Get your asses down here, Portnoy and Big Cat and everybody. Come on, Casey, make it happen.
They're probably coming to that one. That's a big one.
This is going to be the game. I've already talked. Anyone I talk to, friends, family, Aggies, people that have no business asking me for tickets. Like the fact that they punch it in and hit send that I haven't talked to in so long, and they're like, "Hey, think you can get tickets?" Like, here's my list. Here's my list. Here's my list.
I get calls.
Here's my list. Here's you. No offense, but if I haven't really talked to you in several years, and you're like, "Can I get a ticket?" Unfortunately, the answer is yes, you can, but not through me. And you're probably going to have to buy them. Yeah, that too. It's like, man, but yeah, all those people. They were at the Notre Dame game. They were the people I talked to last night in Austin.
Right.
Literally, the game's coming up. It's coming up in casual conversation outside of anything that has to do with A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Like sports fans are talking about it all over.
That's huge.
I got cast members of Saturday Night Live that want to come to this thing. Like just random everywhere. All of that makes the Auburn game, it makes it the biggest. And not for the same reasons. And it's not going to attract attention. You none of that. I mean, it still matters. Mm-hmm. But that is the game you have to win. You've set it up all year, Sean, right? Except for at South Carolina.
Yep.
You've set it up from the morning after the Notre Dame game. All year you've built and set up this thing.
Yep.
You've got one more step to enter the Coliseum, enter the arena.
And for Aggie fans,
some big games. Yeah. Imagine that one.
And for Aggie fans, don't worry about those rankings. We are built and bred to play this team, beat this team. This is going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be a tough game out there when we play against them on the 30th. So it's going to be fireworks. It's going to be something to see for sure.
Okay. We've talked about Auburn. Side note, DJ Durkin as their D coordinator, so he's got something to prove. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Rakes, they're one of their interior linemen. He's got something to prove.
That won't matter as long as we do what we're supposed to.
They're the number 3 defense in the SEC, total yards. Scoring is down. Scoring defense is lower, but that's because they give up so many turnovers, short fields.
Our offense has got to play well, too. I mean, they've got to be able to get rid of those short yardage jitters that we had against South Carolina and open up the running game without Le'Veon Moss.
How do you do that?
What do you mean?
Like in your mind, how does that open up?
The running game?
Yeah.
I mean, we can open that up. We can do short. We could, first of all, just run the ball, put an emphasis on running the ball, right?
Yeah.
I think far too many times in college football we watch and there's 50 passes and 16 runs. We just have to say we're going to run the ball 25 times and do it. Right?
And I think I think if there's one thing we know is they won't just start chucking it around.
And then the short passing game. So, like, you know how we talked about those mid-range shots kind of at the beginning of the season?
Mhm.
Short passing game, slants, drags, unders, hitches, quick bubbles, anything out wide. Those passes that feel like runs. Like, you know what I'm saying? A pass, just flip something out there. It feels like a run play, but we got 4 or 5 yards.
So you're calling
Great.
basically what you're calling is a big game for number one. That's what it sounds like to me.
What do you
Bree
mean?
Barber. Those are his passes.
Yeah.
Those are like, you could see him catching
that opens up the
8
run.
for 78,
That opens up those little dinkers opens up the run a lot, because now when it's 1st and 10, as a linebacker, I'm not just thinking it's run. They're gonna probably run it. Even a second down, run down, 2nd and 4. I'm thinking they're gonna run it. So we lean on that a little bit. But if we know that they have options on these short yardage downs, they have options on the run downs, it opens it up a lot. And I think Amari Daniels has been playing great. He stepped in, as a backup, stepped into that starting role, and he's doing what he should.
Look, Amari, we talk about, I always say him on offense, Regis on defense. Amari goes 71 yards on one of his 5 carries the other night.
Yep.
And thank goodness they rested him. He goes 56 yards against a really tough South Carolina defense to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes 91 yards on 12 carries against LSU.
Yep.
He's showing up.
He's explosive.
What do you think about the tight end usage? I mean, they had, between the two of them, 9 catches for 178 yards.
I love that. I would like to see more of it. I think that the tight end is just such a dangerous piece, that we could unlock in our offense that's not unlocked right now.
Yeah.
It'll help us. It'll help us. It'll help open up everything else if we open up the middle of the field with that tight end more and more.
Okay. Let's move on. And we'll talk Auburn after the game. The college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at those rankings? Have you seen? Okay, so let's go through it here.
Yeah.
Let's pull this up. Sean, I'm going to read you the top 15 and up.
Okay.
I'm going to pause a couple times. Texas A&M 15.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't move. BYU 14, SMU 13, Boise 12. Okay, and then here comes a run. Tennessee 11, Georgia 10, Ole Miss 9, Miami 8, Bama 7, Notre Dame 6. Okay, so here's some things I noticed there. The team A&M lost to has risen, even after losing in Northern Illinois, to 6. Couple things there. They play a cake-ass schedule.
They need to force them to join the conference.
You said that the other day, and I completely agree with you.
Like, what they do year in and year
out
is criminal. And it's been like this forever, for such a long time. For years and years, they've been doing this, and they've been getting to these high rankings, getting these big bowl games, and getting in playoff position now. But it's all due to just a weak schedule, and you have to force these guys. Go play in at least the Big 12, man.
Now, with that said, there are differences in conferences.
Right, but you got to get them somewhere.
The ACC sucks. Here's who's ranked in the ACC out of that entire conference. 17, Clemson. 13, SMU. And 8, Miami. Now, let me tell you something about those 3 teams. 3 out of I think a 16-team conference. Mm-hmm. 3 of them are ranked. Mm-hmm. Pitiful. Now, guess what those 3 teams also have in common?
What?
They haven't played each other. They have not played each other. And they are not, I don't believe they're going to play each other in the regular season. I got to check that to make sure. But even if so, maybe one of them plays. It might be Clemson and Miami. I don't think so, though, because Clemson still has to play. It's not. They don't play each other.
These guys. What conference are they?
BYU's in the Big 12. That was
they're
big.
In
Colorado.
Colorado is this is the team I was going to talk about today.
Yeah.
When we went to our college football segment. BYU will not win the Big 12.
Well,
in my opinion.
Here's another thing. BYU has to go to Arizona State this weekend.
Yeah.
By the way, Scadaboo, have you seen this guy?
No.
Watch Arizona State's running back, Cam Scadaboo. I saw him like late night Big 12 game on a Friday. several weeks ago, he went for like 2-something all purpose. I'm like, this dude's ridiculous. He's still going. I think Arizona State's going to beat BYU. It's not going to matter.
Yep.
So I don't know who goes, if it's Iowa State or if it's Arizona State, to end up playing Colorado. If you want to talk for a second about Colorado, I'll start by saying give a ton of credit to Deion.
It's nuts. This is nuts
Because
what
I've not liked a lot of his methods, and it's mainly just there's a lot of methods I didn't like the I don't care criticize. I'm like, you can yell at play. I probably feel that way more so than you in 2024, right? You and I've talked and debated it. It's not that. My thing is just how I always joke, Dan Campbell used to call Hunter the Rooster. It's like, dude, it's not a fight. Everyone's not attacking you every time. You don't have to make mortal enemies of everyone that ever says something that slightly ruffles your feathers. But
play devil's advocate here a little bit.
Yeah.
Last season, they were attacking him every time. Like, it did feel like
that's
everybody
fair.
was against him and everybody hated that shit, and they came in there too loud and with too much jewelry, too much Louis luggage.
And I don't mind that.
People did not like that. The overall consensus, though, people hated that.
Well, they were ready to pile on. They were ready to watch him fail,
and they were
and he
piling
knows
on
that.
him.
And he
They were
knows
piling on him when he was losing.
And he took the job knowing that.
So
that is, if you're a person,
I'm not mad at him about that.
Yeah, if you're a human being, at any job, much less like the dude's a Hall of Famer and a
He's the
champion
best
in two
ever
sports.
that ever lived.
I would say a corner, yeah. I would say athletes I've seen, like Bo Jackson and maybe Deion second.
It's probably like third or fourth or fifth.
But I'm not counting like golf and Tiger and I'm saying
Tiger
like
count.
Team sports.
Yeah.
Like athletes. Like
LeBron
Jordan and
best I've ever
LeBron
seen.
are like they're the greatest like players in their sport all time. I'm saying
I think LeBron James is the greatest athlete that has ever lived, number one on the list.
I think if you do just some random test to say size versus what you can do athletic,
Size, speed, coordination, jumping.
Agreed.
All that, I think LeBron wins.
Except he could he have played other sports? Sure.
Could he have played tight end?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Deion.
What are we talking about? LeBron James?
But he didn't. So I go Bo Jackson and Deion.
Yeah, because they did it.
But anyway, point being, even if it was me with no sport experience past high school, if I took a job and everyone said I couldn't do it, and I went to bed every night and woke up every day knowing that there's people that I don't even know, there's people I do know, there's people that I consider my friends, there are people that don't think I can do it, I'm probably going to wake up every day pretty defensive. And I'm probably going to have a big-ass chip on my shoulder. I just think a lot of times because of that, so I didn't care. I actually like.
You don't like how he talks to the media. He's too critical of
Not just the media, but just people that's like, no, they're not the villain here. Maybe that guy isn't that guy, but you're constantly on the attack and you're going after some people that aren't. That was what would get to me. But the other stuff, I like it. Colorado. See, I grew up, you were there on the bad Colorado.
I played Colorado in college.
Yeah, you grew up on the bad. Could y'all beat them?
Yep, they're bad.
I grew up on when I was in like high school, college.
Cordell Stewart
was Cordell Stewart, but it was like, even before that, like winning a national title. The Buffalo, they played Nebraska it was Colorado, Nebraska they were
that coach
the Dan McCartney or Bill McCartney era.
Yeah, Bill McCartney.
So anyway, I like seeing it back. I hope Deion stays.
I do too.
I don't know. I
think he will.
Would Jerry Jones ever do this to draft Shador and bring Deion?
If you're Deion, why would you ever go from a college coaching job where you have a lot of job security, everybody loves you, you're actually building this city up and making them a bunch of money, and they'll never let you go if you allow it.
Yeah.
To Jerry Jones, who is very little job security, very finicky, he's gonna, micromanage you at your head coaching job, and he needs to be the one.
Can I tell you why?
I wouldn't think that's a good option.
Can I tell you why?
Well, it's not the money. He can't possibly pay him enough to make that make sense.
No. Well, they might. I mean, they might.
I
But
think
it's the
Colorado
Cowboys.
could, they could come up with some money too, though. I don't think
I don't know if they could come up with the.
they can't come up with Cowboys.
Yeah, but he can make enough where it doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter,
At some
yeah.
point, like, is it 8 million, 9 million versus 12? Like,
Right. Especially when you're Dion and you've made a little bit of money, you got a little bit of land and some houses, and you're okay.
but here's the deal. I'll take the job. You draft my son. And not only am I coaching where I won a Super Bowl, I'm coaching in what is the premier, because I don't think it's the Lakers anymore, but it's probably the Lakers or the Yankees and the Cowboys, right? Like if you're saying the premier job in the sport of football, where I won a Super Bowl, where it's America's team, and if you draft my son as the quarterback. So that's why I could see it. I hope we don't.
Sounds like a cool, fantasy world, type of deal. I just don't think that that's reality.
I just think his approach, once he got and gets over this hump, where he's a little less angry, and he has his players.
I think he can coach college.
I think he fits there better. I think the kids want what he brings more than like pro players.
A lot more than pro players.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pro players that don't care nothing about none of no Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
They're going to say he's an old man and they don't care what he did, right? They're trying to do it. That's pros, kind of. You'll get some guys like that that's just like, I don't care about none of that, College kids, their parents and their uncles are going to tell them how great Deion Sanders was at football, and they're going to listen to his every word, and they're going to be better for it. So,
okay. So I don't think the Big 12's getting 2 guys in. I don't.
How many people does the SEC get in if everybody is 10-2?
So here's the question. And by the way, the best story to me is what Tulane's doing. Their head coach was at South Alabama, and Ross Bjork kicked the tires just to see, and came back and told me, we're not going to hire him. That's a jump from South Alabama to Texas A&M, and Tulane's a great in-between. Now he'll springboard from that too. But said that dude's a rock star. He's going to be like another, Kirby Smart. Like he's got when you sit down with him, he checks everybody. So anyway.
You can do that at a team like Tulane too. I mean, you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing some coaching.
A&M 15. I'm not arguing or complaining, but I think if I was doing the rankings and this guy Ward Manuel, who spells his name with an E on the end.
Why are they so high? I feel like Tennessee shouldn't be so high.
Okay, so look, Boise, SMU, BYU. I honestly think A&M should be number 12. I think you could even tell me that A&M should be number 11.
Over Tennessee.
Now, Tennessee, I'll give Tennessee this. They beat number 7 Alabama. They lost to Georgia. So their loss and A&M's loss is about the same.
Well, no.
Tennessee lost to Arkansas. A&M lost to number 18, South Carolina.
And to number 6.
The Aggies don't have a bad loss. Tennessee does. But Tennessee's got a better win right now than anything A&M did. Because the teams A&M beat.
LSU ended up being bad.
Somehow Missouri's still ranked 23rd.
I don't know
If they could have beaten South Carolina, I think that would have been big for A&M. They should have won that game. But look, you're talking about the Big 12 or the SEC. Here's the problem. Because I think this stuff will take care. Boise, SMU, BYU have no business being ahead of Texas A&M. They all have a loss, and they've played combined. The only team any of them have played worth anything is Boise State played Oregon, and BYU beat SMU. That's it. Out of 3 schedules, there's 2 games that each of these 3 teams played one real team. So it's 3 real opponents out of 30.
If we can allow Notre Dame to do that, though, we got to allow them to do that.
Yeah, but at least
it's no different.
You're right. At least Notre Dame went on the road and beat A&M. Now, you're going to say, well, BYU beat SMU. Yeah, but are they really? They're not that good. And that's the problem, I think, with this formula and this format is this committee will not just sit there like you and I could, where you could go, Luch, come on, man. What, Sean, what? come on, you watch football. Like, what would BYU's record be on Georgia's schedule? What would it be on?
You can't do that though.
But I think you should. If you're
If
trying
you should do
to,
that, then Notre Dame should never make anything.
if you're right. Most years, I mean, maybe there's a year. If you're trying to put the best teams in college football in that playoff, and so here lies the other problem.
I wouldn't try to put the best teams in college football in that playoffs. I would put the teams that
You
earn
want
it.
the most deserving?
Yes, I want the most deserving.
But how
And
do
that
you
is
earn
there's
it?
a big difference in those two things.
So I think you have to find the mix, though. How do you earn it when Georgia is sitting here behind Miami and behind Indiana? You want to look at the schedule that make you puke? Look at Indiana. So they're undefeated, but Georgia has 2 losses. So does that mean that Indiana's earned it more?
yes,
I don't think so.
I think so.
Georgia would have
The teams that
slept.
the teams that were put in front of Indiana, they beat their ass. That's what you're supposed to do. Georgia didn't do that, so Indiana's earned it more.
Yeah, I disagree because I think I could line up a schedule with you where I play. So here's the point.
If our schedules aren't the
okay,
same, it don't matter.
so
We can't. It's just comparing apples to
Georgia
oranges.
So Texas A&M, this is what you're saying, and you can't deny it. This is what you're saying now, and you're going to hear me say. Texas A&M is 8-2, so they're 15.
Mhm.
If Texas A&M was 9-1, they'd probably be ahead of Miami at 9-1 because Miami has no wins of note.
Mhm.
A&M would have at least wins of note. They would have beaten 2 teams in the top 10 when they played them. My point is, they should have never played Notre Dame.
What? Yeah, I agree. What do you mean?
So that's what the committee is saying. So, like, Clemson is all the way down here at 17
yeah.
with 2 losses. They would be 9-1 had they not played Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And here's who Georgia's played. Okay, and look, I challenge you.
So
to
you're
look,
just saying the A&M, like the scheduling is what you're talking about, right? We
Yeah.
shouldn't have played Notre Dame.
because and that's the message the committee is sending. Because I'm telling you right now, if you look at who Miami's played and Indiana's played, and Penn State's played 1 team, and guess what they did? They lost at home to the 1 team. Miami has played no teams, and they've still lost. Notre Dame played 1 team.
Mhm.
They beat them. So here's my thing.
Winning just matters. Though,
Indiana.
man. Winning always
That's fine.
matters.
That's fine. Then
It's always matters.
had you guys not played Florida,
Why would we not play Florida's SEC?
because you don't
opponent.
play everybody in the SEC, and now it's even worse.
But it's SEC opponent, though.
Doesn't matter.
That's a regular game.
It does, look, like it's not the same. Like Georgia is 8-2. You want to know who they played? They played number 11 Tennessee. They played number 17 Clemson.
You're thinking about the best team.
They played. I'm just making a point here.
It's not actually about.
They
who's
played
the best.
Tennessee. It is.
It's not though.
It is. If you want a national champion,
You'll
it should
get it.
be about the. No, you
With the
won't.
12-team playoff, you're gonna get the best team out of
Georgia,
it.
if Georgia got left out,
Georgia with 2 losses is not the best team in the country.
they might be.
I don't think that they are.
They might be.
And I think.
What
that-
about Alabama?
And I think that if Georgia
Okay, so
or Alabama,
right now,
if Georgia or Alabama with 2 losses are
Okay.
left out of the playoff, or they don't get any opportunity that they thought they deserved, I don't disagree with that.
how about so you think an 11-0 Indiana or 10-0 should be ranked ahead of
2
Georgia.
losses is a lot.
I don't think it is. That would be like, Sean, that would be like leaving you guys out of a 12-team playoff your senior year. How do you feel about that?
What do you mean? We couldn't
You
have
don't
got
think-
left out. How
you
would we
don't
get
think-
left out?
How is Georgia and Ole Miss or Tennessee getting left out?
Who does Georgia play next 2 games? Do we know that?
Georgia Tech and somebody else that they should beat.
Mhm.
They should be 10-2. Same record as you guys.
10-2?
Yeah.
Who they lose to?
They lost to Ole Miss, number 9, and Alabama, number 7.
To me, if there are 2 more teams
know how
in their
many teams-
conference with better records that played the same type of conference as them, not the same exact schedule, the same type of schedule as them, the
you
same
think Texas
strength of
played the
schedule
same
as them.
type of schedule?
As who? Georgia?
Georgia.
No, I think Texas had the weakest schedule in the country this year.
Yep.
Behind probably them guys.
Probably behind Indiana, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my point. So my point is, you think Bama, Ole Miss, or Georgia? I think any of those 3 could win a national title this year, And I do think those
I'm
three.
not upset if any of them don't, though. I don't think that it was just it was they got hosed and no, that was the best team and then we didn't even let them in the playoff. I'm not like that upset.
So if y'all
I don't feel like they earned their I feel like one loss maybe, okay, cool. But you got 2 losses. If we like us, yes.
You wouldn't have thought
Us with 2 losses, if they didn't let us into some 14 playoff or 18, 12 team playoff back then, we deserve to not be in because we went on the field and lost twice. Twice.
And you would never have sat here and go, man, we played Alabama, we played LSU, we played Florida.
Yeah, we went through the gauntlet, but some other people went through the gauntlet too, and they came out better. They came out good.
I'm saying if they didn't.
Yeah.
And you were looking at these teams that did not go through the gauntlet.
But that's the same thing as my senior year. I had to watch Tyler Eifert and Manti Te'o go out there and play Alabama for the national championship. That team is not even in the same world as my team.
I agree.
So we would have beat the hell out of those guys. We'd have beat them 48-3 or something.
So how did that feel?
Right.
You off.
It makes you sick, but it's like we know Notre Dame plays a weak schedule. They kind of get
this. But that's my question.
They're undefeated. It looks the right way.
We actually agree then because you're saying
it has to look right.
You're basically saying
this is what I'm saying.
They shouldn't be there. That should be us. We're better than them.
I'm saying we're better than them.
And they got an easy path.
Yeah, but I understand. I'm not mad about it. I'm not like, oh man, we should. I'm not saying that out loud. That might be how I feel on the inside.
Just said it.
That might be how I feel on the inside. But like, in the moment, it's not like I'm going on a Twitter rant. We're way better than mother. You know what I'm saying? This is the same thing as saying Floyd Mayweather finished his career 50-0.
Yeah.
Roy Jones was 50-0. He kept going and lost. I think Roy Jones is a better fighter than Floyd Mayweather, right? Who's the greatest boxer ever? Floyd Mayweather. Why? Because nobody ever beat him. I didn't see him lose, I saw Roy lose.
So you think Indiana was Floyd Mayweather, is what you're saying? Maybe it's Oregon.
They're cherry-picking their opponents. They're winning.
Maybe it's Oregon, but
really, they're the real Floyd Mayweather. They just lost.
Yeah. I mean, so here's my other issue. Same thing we're talking about. You've heard SEC bias.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me read you.
But it's clear and far the best conference, so I don't think that we can say that.
Okay.
When there's one clear conference, it's way better than all the rest of them.
Okay. I like what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Let me read you the conference affiliation of the top 5. Big Ten, 1. Big Ten, 2. SEC, 3. Team that you said the weakest schedule in the SEC, and it is, of the contenders.
Yep.
Big Ten, 4. Big Ten, 5. 4 of the top 5 teams are from the Big Ten, and the 5th out of 6
should
is
be
Notre
in the
Dame.
Big Ten.
And the 5th out of 6 is Notre Dame. They should be. Who you've gone on. If you're going to honestly look me in the face and say 5 of the 6 teams in the country, they're the best teams in the country.
It won't be like that at the end of the year.
Why? Because they don't play each other. Notre Dame doesn't play
These 2 guys will still be there.
Indiana,
one
Ohio
of them
State
won't
play.
be there.
That's it.
Yeah, they'll be there only because of their record.
But here's the big question: can Indiana with 1 loss fall from 5 out of the playoffs?
Yes.
I don't think they will.
I think they should.
I hope they do.
Because of what you're talking about. Now we bring that in because they lost. Now we bring that into it. Strength of schedule, they haven't even played anybody and they still lost and all that, they should fall out.
Penn State plays no one. They're going to stay in.
Mm-hmm.
If the Big Ten gets 4 and the SEC should get 5 and they're not. Here's who's in contention in the SEC.
SEC should, I don't think.
Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, A&M. Let's close it out with this. I want to ask you one more thing before we go because I think it's really interesting. If both teams win this weekend, Aggies and Longhorns, and A&M beats Texas, okay, you're going to have a 10-2 Texas that will be 0-2
against the top teams in the SEC. Yeah.
No, just ranked top 25.
Yeah.
They have played 2 of what would be the top 25 teams in the country. If they're 0-2 and they played their other 10 games came against non-top 25 teams, how do you give them a spot? Forget about the brand and the talent. Problem is they're at 3. How far would they drop after losing to A&M? They're not falling out. The committee is not going to drop them from 3 to 13. I don't know that the committee will drop Indiana from 5 to 13. They're damn sure not drop. So Texas, I don't even care that they're going to get in. The problem is
if they lose to A&M.
They will get in ahead of an SEC team like Tennessee with 2 losses or Georgia who beat them. They won't get in over Georgia.
They
But
should not
Georgia,
get in over. If A&M beats Texas, Texas should not get in the playoff over Georgia or A&M.
and then if A&M loses and they have 3 losses,
We're out.
and that I think so too. But
There
that
should be
is
no thought about it.
that is a hot button topic, though. You're going to be in when you beat Texas and end the regular season,
Yes.
and then because you played in the championship game of the toughest conference against
So we're talking about after Texas game
an
now.
extra game against a top 10 team.
Yeah. That
And-
should okay, so if both SEC championship teams are in the top 12 before the SEC championship, I think they should remain.
I
I
agree.
don't think that they should fall out of the top 12.
Yeah.
Texas team, right? If they are you said they would have 3 losses?
No, they'd have 2. They'd
Two
be
losses.
0-2 against
Okay.
ranked teams.
So if they end up, we beat them, they have 2 losses, and they're 0-2 against ranked teams, what does that tell me? They're not the best team in the country.
And they're not the best team in their conference.
So in my mind, if I was putting this bracket together, I wouldn't care about all of the, extra stuff, the brand and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. I'm trying to figure out the top 12 teams so we can figure out who the best team in the country is, right?
Mhm.
Some of these losses tell me you're not the best team in the country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't even worry about that type of stuff. I'd put the teams in with the best records that can, put on the best show.
It's going to be interesting because I don't think the SEC is getting 5. I think they're getting 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be cut and dry when it comes out. It could be, like Tennessee could lose to Vandy. A&M could lose to Auburn. If either of those things happen in the next couple weeks, 6 becomes 5. Well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 becomes 5, just like that.
To get 4 and 5 teams out of one conference into the playoff almost seems.
Well, the Big Ten's getting 4 unless
seem
Indiana
right.
falls out. The SEC will get 4. It's a question of, they. And when I'm just looking at these, like Ole Miss has 2 not good losses. They lost to Kentucky. That's actually a bad one.
Yep.
Then they lost to LSU on the road in overtime. But they also beat.
They
They've
lost
also,
to LSU?
Yeah, but they've also beaten Georgia.
Yeah.
They beat South Carolina on the road. These teams that have real wins, I feel like I can almost tolerate an extra loss versus a team with 1 less loss but no meaningful wins. And that's where I think the committee, from hearing them talk, they put more value on what your losses were
On a
over
good
the win.
loss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
over the wins. So anyway, that's it.
That's all.
It doesn't matter. None of this stuff matters for A&M unless they win this weekend at Auburn on the Plains. They need to channel to Sean Porter and go win at Jordan-Hare Stadium. We'll be back to talk about it and preview the Aggies and Longhorns next week. We've got to work on some special guests for that one.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back
Maybe
with a special
with
guest next
A&M
week.
Texas ties.
Yep.
All right, take it easy.